Hey, welcome back to the Western Maryland O-Scale Hanover subdivision, the Dutch line here in Gettysburg. We haven't done a double K Productions in a while, so we're doing some work on the layout. We'll do another video. So what we're working on today are these Atlas O-Scale trucks. I bought a bunch of these, only to find out that they were part of a series that they didn't extend the insulating bushing through far enough, and when they get down the tracks, they short the system out. So we need to fix that. So that's what we're going to do is a real quick demo on how we get these trucks back in service. So the first thing is that when I get these trucks is there's a retaining plate on the top here. And this plate is mainly for the high rail market, and it keeps the truck from being able to equalize. So I take the two screws out and chuck the retainer. All right, so we need to disassemble the truck. And if the video's squiggly and out of place, we can blame videographer Andrew for that. So first thing we need to do is I take out the truck springs, get them pulled out. For sake of time, I've already removed 4 of them. There's 6 on each side. These are 100-ton trucks. Then there are these little roller bearing caps. They just are there to simulate the roller bearing going around. They really don't add anything mechanically. Little screwdriver and pop them out. Set them aside. Then we have the brake shoes. Take a pair of tweezers, squeeze the little tabs, and they pop out. So now we have a very loose truck. Let the bolster drop down until it's flat. And we should be able to pop this guy apart. Watch, this one's going to be obstinate and not want to pop apart. Come on. Usually they fly apart before I even have a chance to realize they're coming apart on me. There we go. Now, technically to insulate this, you really only need to use washers on one side. However, we're going through the effort to fix this. I'm putting them on both sides. That way if a washer were to break or just wear thin from use, the other side is still there. Now, I am using Kadee number 2009, the gray ones. These are 10 thousandths thick. They also make the red ones, which are 15 thousandths thick. The reason I chose the 10s was that since I'm putting washers on both sides, essentially I'm giving up 20 thousandths of side play, and you'd give up 30 thousandths with the red ones. So I opted to go with the thinner washer, and they work just fine. Before I start reassembling everything, one thing I do is I will put one truck spring in the center. Typically, when I'm putting just one in, I don't run risk of them flying. So this one will probably do that to me, since I mentioned it. And the reason I do this is it stiffens up the so that bolster is not going to go flying around when we put it all back together. So we put the washer on across the axle, slide her back in, do the next one. And this is where it'd be nice to have 3 hands, but once you do a few of these, it's not that big a deal. Pick the whole assembly up, drop the other side on. And when this side frame goes in, we have to make sure that that little plate you see goes on top. Put the top of the spring pan, the bolster near the bottom. Line everything up. Make sure you didn't drop the washers off. And voila, back in she goes. Thumb underneath of the bolster, finger on top of the side frame, and that locks it in place for you. We'll put one more spring in. Oop, thought I had it. And I know all my P48 friends are all saying, if you just go to P48 and don't use Atlas trucks,
you don't have this problem, you have to fix them. Yeah, well, the Dutch line is a OW5 layout, so that's not a possibility. Oh, there it landed right on me. And of course, these are only a booger to put back in when the camera's running. All right, so now we have the bolster back in. Now, the springs get a little tougher to put in because they that bolster's in place now and it won't float around. So, piece of sewing needle, thread, and a needle. Take that through the coil. And that's what happens whenever it springs. It doesn't go flying. It stays right where you're working. I might have done that one somewhat intentionally. And for those that are wondering if these springs really do anything, they actually do. They do keep the bolster in place, and it takes a lot of the flex out of the truck. So they do have a purpose. Then pull your thread through. We'll do another one. Just run it down through the coils. You don't want to run it down through the center line of the spring, because then the thread gets caught in the little nub that holds everything in place. Put the bottom in, put that in, pull the thread through, and that's one side. Now, we'll go ahead and put the, I normally would do the other side a while, but in essence of time, we'll put the little roller bearing nubs back on. They just press fit, is all they are. And then we will take the brake housing, and it's just a tab fit, so it just goes in there and tabs in, and that puts our truck back together. I just need to do the springs on this side, and this is ready to go back on the layout with no shorting. And I do test them. I stick them on and make sure that they work okay. So that's how we fix Atlas trucks that have this shorting problem in it. It seems to be in the newer style that have the thinner side frames on them, not the original thick ones. And they're ready for service on the layout now. So just a little advertisement for the layout. January the 8th from 11 to 4. The layout's going to be open. During that day, you can also visit York, Cumberland Valley, and the Waynesboro Model Railroad Clubs. They're having open houses as well, so we're going to be open for anybody that's traveling back and forth between those layouts. So January 8th, come visit us, and Happy New Year to everybody.